Hey guys, this is Rachel Hale.
And Jackie DeFolvio.
It's December 8th, 2016.
And we will be speaking from the Geyser Residence Hall. We just want to give an overview summary of the situation that we're covering. So, Melissa and Aaron Klein ran a bakery, which was called Sweet Cakes by Melissa in Gresham, Oregon. On January 17, 2013, Rachel Bowman-Cryer and her mother, Cheryl McPherson, headed to Sweet Cakes for the bride's cake tasting appointment. During the tasting, Aaron Klein asked for the names of the brides and grooms. This is when Rachel informed him of the two brides, herself and her partner, Laurel Bowman-Cryer.
Aaron then said that he was sorry, but that Sweet Cakes did not make wedding cakes from same-sex ceremonies because of his and his wife's religious beliefs. In response, Rachel began crying, at which point her and her mother left the store. On January 17, 2013, Laurel, her partner, filled out an Oregon Department of Justice consumer complaint form. When the case was settled, the Kleins had to pay the Bowman-Cryers $135,000 to cover their emotional damages, as well as for breaking Oregon law of discrimination in the workplace.
For an overall timeline of the case, in January 2013, this is when Aaron Klein officially turned down Rachel Bowman-Cryer and her mom. Then, in June 2013, Rachel and her partner Laurel had a commitment ceremony. In August of 2013, they filed the complaint towards the Sweet Cakes Bakery. September 2013, the Kleins closed the bakery due to a lack of customer support. January 2014, the charges are officially filed. On May 19, 2014, Oregon officially legalizes same-sex marriage. And on May 2014, the Bowman-Cryers marry.
So we're just going to answer some questions in the podcast, some overarching questions about the case. The first one is, did the Kleins have the right to deny service? And then we're going to answer if the Oregon Equality Act of 2007 is actually constitutional or not. And then who was really in the wrong? So we're reading the case file on the Sweet Cakes by Melissa case, and it says that Laurel actually asked Rachel to marry her after they met and was turned down, soon after they met, and she continued to propose to her quite regularly until October of 2012 when Rachel finally agreed to marry her. But previously she wouldn't marry her actually because she'd already experienced failed marriages. Whether those are her marriages or someone else's, it doesn't really say, but they tended to do more damage than good. So she's kind of setting herself up for failure, but that's not important.
Yes, and then further in the court file, it states that Rachel decided that they should get married in order to show their foster children how much that they loved each other in order to give them permanency and commitment. So it's odd to me that that's the reason why she agreed, because I'm sure Rachel will agree with me that if you love someone, you just need to get married. Like, there's nothing really holding you back at that case. Granted, same-sex marriage was not legal at this time, but you still could have said yes when your partner proposed to you.
Yeah, and it kind of says that it made Laurel extremely happy, but then after Rachel, she kind of after she got over her fear of marriage, it says she was excited to get married and to start planning the wedding, wanting a wedding that was as big and grand as they could afford. So she really wanted to make a statement with it too, which is interesting.
So it seems like this wedding was a statement for them and for their foster children.
Yeah.
Like, they just wanted to prove something almost.
Yeah, it really does seem like that looking at the court case.
So in January of 2013, Aaron and Melissa Klein had small children, so they alternated who was at home with the children and who was at the shop taking orders and such. The day of the Bowman-Cryers tasting, Aaron was actually at the shop doing the appointment. During the tasting, Aaron asked for the names of the bride and groom, in which Rachel told him that there would be two brides and their names were Rachel and Lauren. At this point, and this is a direct quote from the court case file, Aaron Klein stated that he was sorry, but that Sweet Cakes did not make wedding cakes for same-sex ceremonies because of Aaron Klein's and Melissa Klein's religious convictions. So this is when Rachel began crying, she felt humiliated, and her mother left the shop.
So in the car, Cheryl, her mother, she was comforting her and saying, we'll find someone else to do the cake for you. It's no big deal. But then she changed her mind and she was like, you know what, I need to go talk to him. And so they drove back to the cake place. It was only a short distance away. And she went in and talked to Aaron, and she said that she used to believe what he believed, but that her truth had changed as a result of having 2 gay children. And then Aaron Klein said, you shall not lie with a male as one lies with a female. It is an abomination, which is Leviticus 18:22. So she just kind of left and then went and told her daughter what Aaron had said to her. But she kind of just said that Aaron had told her that her children were an abomination unto God. So she kind of twisted his words around. She didn't really give it any context as to how it was his religious belief and how the Bible states it. She just said that he told her they were an abomination.
And I'm sure if Rachel's mother had said it the way that the court file presents it as happening, she wouldn't have been quite as upset, just because Aaron was not personally attacking her or her children. He was merely almost having proof of his religion, like trying to back himself up.
He wasn't trying to be mean or anything. He was just kind of like, I'm sorry, like, this is what I believe. I'm sorry it doesn't agree with you. But we also found interesting how she said her truth had changed. For me, that's a really weird concept, like the truth changing. Like, the truth is kind of always the truth, whereas her opinion might have changed about the situation. I don't think whatever the truth happens to be, I don't think it ever changed. I just think the way she viewed it changed.
People change, and that's the thing, religion, it can be interpreted different ways, and I think, because she claims, that they're a Christian family too, and it's well, you may be one too, but you view things differently, you take things in differently, so your quote-unquote truth may have changed, but that doesn't mean that the client's truth has changed, so you can't expect everyone to be the same as you.
Exactly.
So obviously following the issue, Rachel and her mother went back home and told the issue to Laurel, and the couple was very upset, and they felt, emotionally and mentally attacked at this point, so they weren't taking the situation too well. And neither was Rachel's mother, because a few nights after the incident, she posted a review on the Sweet Cakes Facebook wedding page and on another wedding website with a message stating, if you're a gay couple and having a commitment ceremony or wedding, do not go to this place because they discriminate against gay people. And though this may be true and she has the right to voice her opinions on it, a lot of the articles discussing the case outside the official court files, especially those that are in support of the Bowman Criers, state that the Kleins are the first to make a public notice of this event. Especially, there's an article from Patheos website, and they're very big on stating that the Kleins were the first ones to publicly address this and attack the Bowman Criers, but the court case proves that the parties supporting the Bowman Criers were the first ones to publicly address.
So later on the same day, actually, at night, Rachel Bowman Crier, she sent an email replying to Lauren at West End Ballroom, and she's kind of just bringing the situation to her attention. So once again, she's bringing an outside group into the situation. But she's just saying what happened at Sweet Cakes by Melissa. And it also says that my girlfriend and I purchased my mother's cake as a wedding gift for her. At that time, Melissa said nothing about not wanting to work for us because we were gay. So this is kind of contradicting what the case is all about, because it's saying here, right here, through their own words, that they've actually worked with these people before, and they had no problem with them being gay.
Exactly, and Erin was trying to tell her mother and such, it had nothing to do with the brides involved or their personal beliefs. It's the Sweet Cakes Bakery would not take part in the wedding ceremony. It had nothing to do who was involved. It was just because the actual wedding went against their religious beliefs.
Exactly. And then in the next paragraph, it talks about, again, how they'd already met them and they didn't say anything about them being gay. But it also says that he quickly, like when they were meeting, it was Aaron instead of Melissa, first of all. They thought they were going to be with Melissa, and it was Aaron. And it says that she didn't even have time to catch his name because when they told him that it was a gay couple, he quickly said that they don't do gay weddings because they are Christians and don't believe same-sex marriage is right. And my mother asked why they had no problem taking my money when I purchased her cake. She told them that we are a Christian family as well, and that she used to believe like he believed until God blessed her with 2 gay children. So it's saying that she said this before they left the bakery, but this actually happened afterwards when they when she walked back in, the mother by herself.
Yeah, so the letter is also twisted the fact on that detail, and also what they're claiming that Aaron said is also not correct. Like they're saying that they used a much harsher language when describing what he was saying. Like, I don't believe in that same-sex marriage is right. He didn't say that. He said because of our religious beliefs. You know, like there's a much bigger difference between the language used and how the reader would perceive the incident.
Yeah. And then the letter says that this is actually the second time while planning their wedding, as well as weddings not being legal in Oregon at this time. So it's a commitment ceremony, so the wording is kind of off. But it says that this is the second time they face this kind of bigotry. So they call them bigots, which is a kind of strong term. I noticed.
It's very derogatory.
So they're not exactly being kind. They don't seem like they're attacking them. They're just making someone aware of the situation. But I wonder why they didn't bring up the issue, whatever happened the first time. It doesn't say what happened the first time.
Yeah, it doesn't say, and even further research, you can't find anything about it because neither of the parties involved, brought it to the public's attention. They just kind of moved past it peacefully. So it's interesting on why this one has become such a big deal, is it the last straw, it was the second time happening, made them snap, or was there some outside factors in influencing whether they should press charges?
Exactly. The rest of the letter is just kind of explaining that the Westin Ballroom and Premier Catering need to make gay couples specifically, aware that Sweet Cakes does not do gay weddings and that they should not be recommending them to gay couples for wedding cakes so that they don't have to go through the same emotional distress that the Bowman Criers went through, which is that's kind.
Yeah, props to them for trying to protect others. If you go through something awful, you obviously don't want others to repeat it. So although they may not have all the correct facts of the case, this letter is truly trying to just protect other people in the future.
It's actually a really nice gesture towards others.
So later the same evening that Rachel and Laurel sent the letter to Lauren, Laurel filled out an Oregon Department of Justice consumer complaint form, and she was using her smartphone while doing this, which is where the whole issue with this arises, because she claims in a lot of articles and such that she did not know that she was filling out the DOJ's website form because the smartphone kind of blocked out the part that was the liability section of the form. So she thought she was just on a website similar to Yelp, and that's actually a quote from OregonLive.com, their article on the issue. So but this is where it's interesting to me, because she fills out information such as her name, address, phone number, email address, and all the Sweet Cakes information. So it's kind of an organization like Yelp wouldn't ask for all of that. It seems like a much more official form, so you think something would have sparked in her, maybe I'm not on the wrong website.
Yeah. So the actual complaint that she ended up filing, it places her in the situation as well as Rachel. So it says that my fiance and I purchased a wedding cake from this establishment for a mother's wedding. But then it goes on to say that we went for our cake testing. So that's putting her there when she was not actually there. So first of all, the complaint is inaccurate. And then it says that the owner proceeded to say we were abominations unto the Lord once they were given the couple's name. And that's not when that took place. That actually took place, like we said before, when Cheryl went in by herself to talk to Aaron. So it was kind of, it says at the end, this is absolutely unacceptable. But even if it is a complaint and they had a valid issue, they should have presented it with as much truth as possible. And this isn't what actually happened because Laurel wasn't there.
Yeah, so that's like the main issue with it. And again, the complaint could have been not twisted as much if, again, Rachel's mother from the start had said the truth in the first place, because all of this seems so much more extreme of what actually happened because there was a misunderstanding in what Aaron was telling Cheryl.
Exactly. I agree.
So, in just like a conclusion of the case, charges were pressed, and in the end, the Kleins lost the case, and they had to pay $135,000, $75,000 of which went to Rachel, and $60,000 of which went to Laurel. And most of this was due to a long list of emotional symptoms that the couple experienced. I mean, they range from acute loss of confidence, doubt, excessive sleep, felt mentally raped, dirty and shameful, high blood pressure, impaired digestion. It goes on. And you can find the full list at Breitbart.com. I mean, it's really interesting on. I understand you could be upset by a situation, but this seems almost excessive when it comes to it.
I think we figured out there's at least over 50 emotional and even sometimes physical, such as weight gain, grievances that they had. And I don't know, it really does seem like overkill a little bit.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to turn it into a bigger deal than what it actually is.
And there's no, I don't think there's any, expert testimony, really, to say that they actually, these things were actually caused by the discrimination that Rachel experienced.
Yeah, no, because, if you think about it, a lot of the articles discussing the issue talk about all of the outside attacks that were on the Bowman Criers, through social media and stuff, and a lot of those issues could have been caused by that, not so much by the actual incident itself.
Exactly.
So is it fair to the clients to be charged on things that they indirectly caused?
And, I don't think it is, but that's what we're going into now is kind of our opinion and what we've figured out about the case. So we think that if the Kleins had denied service based on the two women being homosexual, then it would have really been discrimination. But they only took a stance on the wedding. And they obviously made mistakes. We recognize that. This didn't, it kind of just blew up. But we looked up the definition of discrimination on Google, and it says that it is unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. And we kind of focused in on unjust because they had a reason, and it was because of their religion, which is a right that we have in America to practice that. And they'd served them before, as we've established. They just refused because of the wedding cake.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's like the law is trying to make them go against their faith, and going off of that, the Oregon law is saying that discrimination in a place of public accommodation is prohibited. The law also goes on to state that, except as provided in subsection 2 of the section, all persons within the jurisdiction of the state are entitled to the full and equal accommodations, advantages, facilities, and privileges, or any place of public accommodation without distinction, discrimination, or restriction on account of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, maternal status, or age of the individual is of age as described in the section older. So all of that information was retrieved from Oregon Law's website. But if you think about it, the law is we understand you shouldn't be discriminated because of who you are, but we have the right to practice religion. If my religion is not to serve same-sex couples for weddings, why, who's going to force me to break my own faith?
Yeah, the right to refuse service is in that, because legally companies have the right to refuse service for no reason at all. Like, they don't even have to give a reason. And it's interesting that him giving his reason and defending himself is what got him into this situation.
Yeah, because if they had just said, oh, sorry, we can't make your cake, it would have been, like, no problem at all,
Yeah.
but it's like, because he was defending his religion, he was almost attacked. And if you look at this, a statement from LegalZoom.com states that you can refuse to serve someone even if they're in a protected group, but the refusal can't be arbitrary and you can't apply it to just one group of people. To avoid being arbitrary, there must be a reason for refusing service and you must be consistent. And the Kleins were consistent in numerous articles ranging from LA Times to different Oregon websites. Like, they state that the Kleins refused service to organizations that openly supported gay marriage. So it's not like this is the first time they've denied it.
They're not being picky with it. They're doing it for anything supporting gay marriage. And it's just the marriage and the wedding in general. They're not doing it against supporting like it's not doing it against gay people. It's against the establishment of marriage, which is interesting because gay marriage, like marriage to Christians, since they are Christian, they see it as kind of like a holy commitment ceremony. Like, it's almost a covenant. And so to have supported a covenant between two people who they don't believe should be getting married according to Leviticus and another verse in the New Testament, it makes sense that they would do this for all situations like this. And apparently, according to LegalZoom, they're doing it correctly.
Yeah, and I mean, the part that I think is the most interesting about this case is not only that they deny it because of their religion, but the law didn't allow for the Bowman-Criers marriage. So technically, they could have claimed that they didn't want to break the law by making a wedding cake. And I'd be interested to see if they went off that scenario, like, what would have been gone differently in the case.
So, like, because gay marriage wasn't even legal, so they couldn't even call it a wedding cake, really.
Exactly.
And they would have been supporting something that was, at the time, against the law.
Exactly.
And even the law that they were convicted on, because they were convicted, like, based on the law of discrimination. Even that law is kind of questionable, because the Establishment Clause in the Constitution kind of protects the right to the practice of religion. And the Oregon law kind of knocks that down.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of laws now are almost, people use them how they want to be used, and I think this is one of those laws where certain people can take advantage of it and others won't. I mean, like, they just understand what happened, but all in all, I think it's a misunderstanding of what happened.
Like, because so many facts were misinterpreted or misrepresented, and they just didn't really, like, understand each other's side. There was no understanding, which is a common problem today, really. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed listening.
And if you want to look further into the issue, as we know we've come up with so much throughout it, we'll be putting a list of suggested articles beneath the podcast if you're interested to further your knowledge.
Thank you.